Edgar Marutlulle. He is someone that you are going to have even more respect for at the end of this conversation than you do in this moment right now. And you're going to learn a lot from him in a very short amount of time. Edgar is proof that it does not matter where you came from or challenges that you have faced head on in your life. When you put your mind to it, you have determination, you have the spirit, you have the drive, you have a purpose. You're going to get exactly what you work hard for. That is our guest today. Hi, Edgar. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Stacy. Thank you for having me on. I look forward to it.
It's going to be great. Tell us what your childhood was like and how you got into rugby.
My childhood, I'm from a place called Vosloorus, which is like a township, almost an American, you'd probably say like a ghetto, so like experience, from a township in a place called Vosloorus. I grew up with my mother and father till the age of about 12 and 13. And then I was fortunate enough to go to I got a bursary to a prestigious like Model C school in South Africa, which is a very integrated sort of like space. And fortunate enough, through rugby, I was able to work myself into a position that I was able to get a bursary. And also by obviously the grace of the Lord, like you get a bursary and you get be able to move on and do different things. But my background, I grew up nothing with rugby in my entire life until the age of about 14. So I never knew there was rugby in South Africa per se. A lot of people speak about the 1994 World Cup, or 95 World Cup, how they integrated South Africa, but there was not even a thing in my own mind. I was absolutely on the other side of the railway. We were watching football. We even never knew even rugby really existed. So
Mm.
yeah, so I'm grateful to be coaching rugby, but two completely juxtapositions from my where I grew up to what I'm actually doing right now.
Given where you grew up, how did rugby change you?
I don't think rugby's just changed me. It's changed my family. It's changed my extended family from what we think is possible, what's not possible. How it's changed me, it's incorporated a part of South Africa and it's made me more South African than I probably could have been. I think also the death of my father at the age of 12, 13 was also really important for my life. I think his passing away allowed me to explore other avenues, other cultures. Culture is such a massive thing in South Africa. And so I was able to adopt an Afrikaans culture, Afrikaans mentors and other people within that. And that has really, really been a massive part of what rugby's done for me personally. I could speak the whole day about the effect and the effect of that on my life and my extended family.
Mm. I think you nailed it. I mean, being able to talk about it all day is a beautiful thing, and you nailed it, and in just such that beautiful soundbite because it is one of those things when you think about sport. I played team sport as well. When you gather family, you add more people to your stew of that pot of family, and it's so precious. And you have so many brothers and sisters through this sport, and it's just such a precious way to grow. And I'm glad that you found it at such a young age.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm really, really glad. I mean, I grew up playing football and I wanted to play football all my life, but the ability to really, I'd never known what Afrikaans people were or even an Afrikaans sport was. Like in South Africa, we consider rugby a much more an Afrikaans sport because like in its cultural history, those were the forerunners within the sport. So playing rugby allowed me to learn Afrikaans as a language, to learn Afrikaans as friends. I mean, I had this friend, I'll tell you a beautiful story. A friend of mine, at 15 years old, we came to like a provincial week camp. I'd never met an Afrikaans friend personally. This guy and I hit it off at 15. Really, really great friend of mine to a point we still do business together about 25 years later, but we just found each other. He invited me to his house. I learned the language. I learned what that was. We learned culturalness. We learned what a braai is. We learned what braai on weekends are, which is so like a South African word for like a barbecue. It's synonymous with the Afrikaans culture, and we've taken in a South African aspect. So I've incorporated a lot of that, and it's affected me to such a way it's become who I am as well. So I'm in no way separated from from that culture. I've put it all together and it's part of who I am. I speak Afrikaans while I coach in Afrikaans. I have an Afrikaans mindset in a lot of aspects, but I also have an African and English aspect to it. So it's a dream that we dreamed of in South Africa, what's United South Africa. And I'm fortunate that I was part of, I am the effect of so many people who've made the conscious decision to say, what do we look like when we're together?
Well, they're beyond blessed to have you as well. That's no doubt. So is this where I say that's lekker?
Yeah, lekker.
Okay,
Very
that
beautiful.
fits. Okay,
Beautiful.
yay.
Yes,
I know very little, but I know that that's a positive remark, so I'll take it.
it is.
So you are coaching now in not just any type of coach. All coaches to me are special, given the time away from your family, given the mindset of a coach. There's so many beautiful, special things about coaches. I look at coaches so differently than most people because you've got to manage time, you've got to manage personalities and players, and you have to know everything about everything and everything about everyone that you're
Yeah.
managing. But you are a World Rugby Level 3 coach. That is massive. Can you describe to everyone that doesn't know what that means exactly what that is?
So that would probably be the highest form of level of education within the rugby aspect. It takes you also not, it's not a self-given. You can't just apply for it. It's something where you're selected over numerous amount that's selected strategically as well. So World Rugby Level 3 coach. I'm also a World Rugby educator as well, which I'm really blessed and proud of, where I'm able to now educate also fellow coaches while being on the path, able to, we go on about courses every 3 or 4 times a month, and we educate course. I'm able to certify other coaches as well, but I love being both a World Rugby educator course and also being a World Rugby Level 3 coach. So like to have both those hats in is really something I'm proud of. It's beyond my dreams on anyone else's that I know. Yeah.
And you don't even know who's watching. You know, there are kids watching you every day that because of the work you've done and because of those two items that are so important to you, they now believe they can do it too.
No, I'm aware of it. I think when you think of yourself as the minority in the sport that I'm in, and you're able to do that and able to provide for your family, be able to create opportunities, exposure. Whereas I feel I'm almost an evangelist for the sport of rugby within just my culture, my family, my culture, my even my ethnicity as well within the group. So when you add all these things up and they all add up onto it, you just see the effect and the belief of so many things, of so many people that just walk up the street and they're like, listen, like well done again, but like well done again, but like thank you so much. I didn't know I could become that. I didn't know I could do that. And like, oh, there's even that. And like, I'm going to do that as well. And you're so grateful to meet the most humblest of people around the world, and even around my mother's community where she still lives in Vosloorus, where they're just like, I didn't know I could do all those things, but like I'm so grateful to know that I can do that, and there is access to all those opportunities in that sport.
I love that you said that you're an evangelist for the sport. I think that's a brilliant line, and it's so true because you are, and people will listen to what you say and they will follow your lead, and you're a good leader. Have you always had that trait of leadership?
I think being an observer of my sport, I'm analytical in my mind. I'm much more an observer. I'm much deep thinker about both the game and generally about life. I question there's a lot of whys and how. I understand cause and effect in a lot of spaces. Something I'm drawn to as an individual. So I think that in itself has led me to really to draw conclusions, to understand a little bit better, and then being able to how do I democratize that experience and also my knowledge in that, because I know how rare some of my experience have been in life, that to democratize it in that way you eventually become a leader because you are just stating really what's going on, what you've seen. I mean, I think of people that have explored the world, and I think how they might have come back to their shores, back to where they came from to give that information just by virtue of I've seen this, I've seen the mountaintop, and you're able to share that with your people, then that allows you in itself to be leadership. Really grateful for that and really blessed. And I know it's also a grace, like I don't take it lightly as well.
I can tell that, and I know other people around you can feel that every day. Why was it important for you personally to get into coaching?
I had other avenues that I probably could have done, and I did explore during COVID time. I did explore going to business with a friend of mine. A friend of mine became a multimillionaire in a business that we did together. But every time I was on site and I thought of all of that, I thought to myself, Edgar, none of your experiences are in vain. Like nothing that's happened in my life is in vain. Like there's nothing I can't trade this and say, no, I want to become a mining engineer or a mining, to sit on site as a supervisor on a site. That's someone else that could do that. My best friend does that. But I said, my friend, I can't do that. The experience that I have, I are not in vain. I can't now give that up and say, oh no, like, everything I have for a reason. I mean, there's so many moments I think of. I said one year we're in Singapore and I was in tears crying, thinking of just the enormity. We're playing in a Super Rugby competition, Blue Bulls versus the Sunwolves, and just so grateful this Japanese cultural team. Like we played each other in Singapore. Just so grateful about how does a kid from where I'm from, like end up in Japan or in Singapore at that specific moment in a hotel. Like I'm out of my mind. And I was old, and I could understand like the weight and the occasion of it. And so, how could those experiences be in vain? Everything that I've had to overcome, some of the discrimination, some of the lack of favor, some of the tough goings, but also some of the character buildings and really, really great moments, both sides of the scale, the good and the bad, they're never in vain. I find it really serendipitous, but I also find there's a great onus to say, if you have seen that, if you have been through that, now it is how do you steward that? And my experiences, I hope to grow players that become even 10 times better or even more than I could ever become. And as someone else did it for me as well. And I hope that I can pass on that baton also to other people and say, my experience was this, please go become better than what I've ever could have become.
You set them up for wins. That is incredible. And it's like you're speaking directly to my soul. Everything that you just said, I'm like, I get it. I get it. I've been there. I know it. The discrimination, the this, the that, the lack of favor, that's something I've really been in prayer about. And uh, I use that exact quote. Nothing that I have done. I just said this to my brother 2 days ago. Nothing that you have done, nothing that I have done is in vain. And
Amen.
we take them as lessons and we continue to move forward. And it's so, so true. How do you remind yourself, and this is going to be a gift to me, and I know a lot of people listening, when you're in the pit at times, how do you remind yourself quickly to get back into that mindset? Or are you already there? Do you have to fight through negative thoughts?
A great friend of mine asked me, Edgar, said, and this is like him, he says, Edgar, why are you so strong? I said, if all you've had to be is be strong all your life, it's not a virtue. I can't congratulate myself for it because
It's
it's the
survival.
obstacle, it's the way, it's what you've had to become. And so generally, I've also done a lot of also education as well within the space of both like mental conditioning and mental coaching. When you think about giving gifts to other people, you've also got to know what is the education and the science of both your experience and how do you combine that. I've done things like there's a thing called Gallup Strength Finders, which is really big, I think, in America. Um, and some of that stuff that you do always come back and you remind yourself that Edgar, who are you? What is it that you've overcome? What are the things that you've really done in life? What are the things that no one can ever take away? And I come back to my personality, who I am, my authenticness, my who I want to be called one day. And when I look myself in the mirror, and I even the tombstone exercise where you look at it and you write your eulogy. What do you say in English? I think it's called a eulogy.
Eulogy. Mm-hmm. Eulogy.
Eulogy.
Yep. Yep.
So when you write your eulogy, and you always come back to that, there's like, what's going to be written on your tombstone, or what are people going to say when they sit at my funeral and they say, "Oh, but Edgar was this and this person." I always come back to that, and that always reminds me of the mission, the purpose, the who I want to become in life. Like, who do I leave behind to the world to say that what have I given to this world?
Your legacy, absolutely. And I think a lot of athletes really struggle with this more than anything when they have to go to retirement, whether they're ready or not, and whether they think they're ready or not. I think it's that identity piece. They forget that they were first a son, a grandson. Now they're a husband, a father. The athlete is down the list, because, and it should be down the list. The titles should be down the list. It's who you are as a person and how you show up for people every single day in your life, and even perfect strangers. One of my favorite things to do, and I do it authentically. I don't say anything I don't mean, but one of my
Yeah,
favorite things to do, and especially with women, if I see a woman, and she doesn't know me from anyone, if she looks beautiful, I'm telling her she looks beautiful. And if she's
beautiful,
if she's got on a great dress, I'm like, girl, please don't go straight home. You look too good. You better get out on this town.
beautiful.
You don't know what their life has been doing. You don't know what they're going through. And 99.999% of the time, their response, and I don't do it for response. I'm coming straight from
Yeah,
the heart.
yeah,
And 99.999% of the time, their response is, "Oh my gosh, like you just made my day. You have no idea." And I'm like, yes, I do, because I'm a woman in this world. I get it,
nice.
and I only speak the facts. So
Yeah.
it's those things. It's how we uplift others, and doing it just from that authentic place. And that also is what makes you a terrific coach for those young people, because again, they're watching closely.
Do you think you put yourself in that lady's shoe and say, what do I hope that someone would have said to me at that specific moment? Do you think it's an empathy, partly speaking to yourself as well, Stacey?
Yes, thank you for asking me that question. I do, whether it's subconscious or not.
Yeah,
When someone says something like that to me, it does, it takes me back. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you have no idea how much I needed that today. Case in
beautiful.
point with you, before we started recording, your
Yeah,
words will always, your words penetrated my soul, and I just want you to know that. And I carry them and I receive them. And yeah, you don't know how people view you or receive you or experience you. And yeah, and as humans, we need to feel loved and seen and heard. And I think also coming from a perfect stranger, it just has this extra like, oh my goodness, like, wow,
yeah,
thank you. And
yeah.
again, I don't do it for the responses, but when they respond with that, I'm like, yes, like that's incredible, because I just knowing that I made her feel beautiful in that moment. Who knows if she'd been told that in years?
Yeah.
It's really
So
special.
for me, when I think of, so I grew up with a family that knew nothing about rugby. So, and in my culture where I'm from, where you come from townships and these places, like, and especially up north in South Africa, where rugby is not such a big thing. Like, I would go home. At no point was my mother ever impressed by what I was doing. I would come back home from holidays thinking to myself, oh my word, I am this big rock star. I'm making it in life at the age of like 15, 16. I'm like expecting this response. I was in boarding school, expecting this response from mother, like, look at me, mom. She's like, listen, please go wash your dishes. Like, please go mop the floor. I'm like, no ways. Like, she's like, no, mop the floor. I'm like, and she's got no oblivious to what carries a value in my culture, in the culture that I've adopted. So she's got no understanding of it. It's like, no, please just go wash the dishes, please mop the floor, make sure you've taken the dog's poo out and all that sort of stuff. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
she knew. Oh,
So
she knew
I
exactly what
didn't
she
know.
was doing.
Yeah, I don't know. So I
I
would
think
come
she,
back
I think
home.
so. I think so. I think she
Yeah,
knew exactly what she was doing. She's always been proud of you,
yeah,
1000% proud of you. That's not a
yeah,
question. But what
yeah,
she knew is that is not who you are. That is not
yeah,
who my son is. That's not who we
yeah,
raised him to be. He's a good man. He's a
yeah,
quality man. And she
yeah.
wanted to keep you in that space of, you're still my boy and you're still going to clean these dishes
Yeah.
and mop this floor.
So grateful for that. And I think of the transition that a lot of sportsmen go through is that sometimes, like I could go to a braai and no one would really even ask me what's the score, what happened on the weekend. Like I could go culturally because we come from these so juxtaposed cultures and spaces. Even though I transcend, I've got value in this one. I might come back. Yes, in myself, people see this confidence, but at nowhere is it status to that. So in my culture, I was like, hey, Edgar, like, man, you're just a normal guy. Like, I remember playing professional rugby. I would take a taxi. A taxi is like the local transport. It's basically like it's like the local form of transport. It's like the lowest common form of transport. But I was now in my professional aspect, and there I was, and so grateful that no one in that taxi space, I'd be wearing the most valuable tracksuit or clothing on based on who I was a rugby player. But even though I was in that space, no one would even bother to even flinch. I would sit in that, pay the same amount of money. No one is asking me, hey, how was the game? Hey, what do you think of this? Like, you're just a son, you're just a man and a boy in our culture. Like, and I'm so grateful for that because that's helped my transition a lot. And it's also helped me in my coaching. Like, in no way do I hope to give the players the value of that rugby is bigger than who you are. And I
Yes.
constantly press into that to say, have you done well? Is it well with your mother and father? Are you in a good relationship, in a good state with that? Before we talk about who you're going to become.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, absolutely. That's why I said your mom knew exactly what she was doing. Exactly. She wanted to make sure you did not forget who you are at your
Yeah.
core. And I hope you clean those dishes and floor really well. I hope she
Oh,
was.
I still do. I still do. I still do. Grateful for the learning.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure it's made you a better husband, a better partner,
Absolutely.
right? You
Absolutely.
just show up
Yeah.
differently because you see the value differently. And I just think that's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. In what ways does coaching bring you reward?
I love the path within unknown, the unconscious incompetency to going all along the path to saying, oh, I'm consciously incompetent. Oh my word, now I've become consciously competent. Then we become and go across the spectrum to say he's unconsciously so competent regarding that, and to see those milestones, those developments really excite me to take people on a journey and grow with them and say, oh, you couldn't do that. Now you can do that. Like I applaud them. I share with them as if it was my own journey, knowing that I wasn't as articulate or as well where I learned rugby at a much later space. Like, and nowhere have I owned what development looks like. Like, and I share, and that's why I love the space I'm in now, like doing it at Blue Bulls, having coached through the spectrum from both under 19s, under 20s, under 21s, the Curry Cup team, the senior mains team, to be within that spectrum, going up, down, through the entire spectrum. I've loved that because at no point have I arrived, and neither do the players ever arrive. They are also on a spectrum of learning, and I learn a lot from the players as well. I think I was telling my fellow coach this past weekend that one thing that stood out to me this past week was that learning is not linear. At no point is learning a straight line. The players, no matter how much we think he understands what we're talking about, but he sometimes falls back to where we were, and we have to constantly engage with them, constantly make sure that learning has taken place, and make sure we capitalize and cap on the learnings. Yeah.
You celebrate their successes because it feels like it happens to you. How do you then manage a tough time with a player? How do you get them through those tough times? How do you stand in the gap with them?
Sometimes it's both. It's both. They say that you've got to comfort the uncomfortable, and sometimes you've got to make sure it's uncomfortable for those that are comfortable. So sometimes you've got to create the stimulus of what it means to be uncomfortable so that he gets out of his comfort zone. But sometimes for the players that have really got hard tension already within themselves, you've just got to be comfort because you know he's already working internally with the tension. It's about knowing that each player is both different. And I love the aspect of players being different and needing different things of a coach in a particular day. So one player would say to me, but coach, you don't talk to me like you talk to the other guy. You're not so brash. Like, how are we getting along so well? You don't need that. I know internally you've got such a high standard. You've got so much turmoil inside. You don't need that aspect of me. But then another player might be really, really a comfortable space where he thinks he's higher than what he is, or he thinks is much more advanced than what he is. And I've got to be really meticulous, really hard on him. And he's like, but coach, how come you're so nice to someone else? And those are the skill sets that we learn as coaches, and we also admire, and you try to really even become attuned emotionally with the players and understanding where they are at that specific moment.
There's a book called The Five Love Languages, and it's one of my favorite books, and it helps you realize what your love language is, and it helps you meet other people in their love language. And mine is, and this is probably not going to shock you, is words of affirmation. So
Yeah.
I that's why I pour into other people. As a coach, as I mentioned earlier, you have to manage so many different personalities. And even in the same household, right? Like parents, you could have 7 kids, and each of those 7 kids require a different type of discipline, a different type
Yeah.
of chat, because one can
Yeah.
handle the tough love, one cannot.
Yeah.
The other one needs all the details. This is why, this is how, this is who, this is where. The other one's just like, okay, I'll just show up. So you have to know who you're dealing with to meet them and to help them thrive in the best way they can. And the fact that you get that is such beautiful wisdom. And again, these kids, these athletes, any of your staff, anyone who works in and around you is going to be so blessed by you. And it's so, so cool that you're in this position.
No, and people talk about a strength that's called the ability to individualize. How do you individualize the experience, even though the collective is still very, very important? As though collective is important, we've got to individualize based on those aspects. And I love the five love languages, by the way. Really, really good book. I would suggest it to every single person in life, by the way.
Oh, it's
Really, really.
so good. It's so good. It just teaches you about yourself. It teaches you how to meet other people where they are, because that's how they
Yeah,
feel loved. And it's so
yeah,
interesting. And we all, for anyone that doesn't know what the five love languages are, please check it out and Google it, because we all have a capacity to want or appreciate all 5 of them, but we definitely have our top couple that just really hit us where we need it. And all the time, it's just so, so good. Edgar, we talked a lot about how important it is, and how much I see what a terrific mentor you are with even your own staff, the players, of course, anyone else that you're around. In what ways also is it important for you? Because I love that you said that you're still learning as well. How is it important for you also to have mentors in your life?
some of the greatest lessons I've learned from mentors, and I think some of those moments aren't necessarily for that specific moment, but they're really just guardrails and really just clues along the line. I think of the story of Hansel and Gretel, where Hansel leaves all these breadcrumbs along the way that lead back to the house, and having really great mentors just allows the people that leave these breadcrumbs along the way that lead us to the house and really, really bring us home. So I wouldn't be who I am. I'm standing on shoulders of really, really great men that have encouraged me, men and women that have encouraged in me, and that have also seen me sometimes just the kind word, sometimes the tough word, but all those people are really, really incredible to who I am today. And I would encourage every single human being in life is that find people that can lead you along the way, not necessarily take you complete and not necessarily guide you, but necessarily just leave breadcrumbs along the way that you can find your own way back home.
That is so good. And it's never too late. It's never too late. You're not too old, you're not too young to have a positive mentor. It's just it's crucial. And it's also not in vain. All these people that have spoken into your life throughout your life, it's been at the right time. It's taught you lessons. It's probably saved you from making some mistakes. So there's just so much beautiful value in having a mentor. When I first started in this career, I was so young, and there were really so few women that were doing it. When I first started as a teenager, I had no one. I was in the lion's den with fire all around me, and I was just trying to figure it out and make it all make sense. I didn't have anyone that I could say, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? Hey, just be there if I fall, because I probably will. So
Yeah.
it's just really, really such high value to have a mentor.
Stace, I'll put something to you.
Please.
Sometimes the culmination of your diversity, it is so hard to find something specifically like you because of just a number of parts that are so unique that make who you are,
Mm.
that you may struggle at first to say I might need a person because you're so looking for someone that looks like you, that seems like you, that talks like you. But when your characteristics and your constellation is so unique, you might have to make trouble in the beginning only to find yourself way back home. I mean, you look at a story of Joseph. I mean, Joseph
Mm.
tells his brothers, I had a dream, or basically, and all of you are bowing down to me. And he's like, and only he only understands later that all the gifts that he's had are not for himself,
Mm.
but for what he has to give much, much later in his life. So sometimes if we come from really peculiar or even just generally we think to ourselves as unique backgrounds, like be kind to yourself and allow people to speak to certain parts, and no one's going to fill you completely all the parts, but allow mentors to show you the way on different aspects of who you are. You're not
Mm.
one person. There's so much diversity in who you are as a human being in terms of likes, dislikes, career choices, and that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. And we also have to remind ourselves it's also not their responsibility to fill us all the way up. We also have to see that as you pointed out, we have to recognize our gifts also and know that it is bigger than us, and that we're out here, all of us are out here just trying to do our best. And so that's where and I know that you teach this to your athletes, is you can only do so much as their coach. They obviously have to do the hard work. They have to put in all the minutes. They have to do the sweat equity. You will be there to fill in the gaps. And just knowing as human beings, knowing that we're not in this fight alone, that we're not in this thing alone is such a gift. And you're in a position, I don't know if you've ever thought about this. You probably have, because you're a person of such wisdom and forward thinking. I think a lot of coaches don't take a minute, and this is not a pat on the back type of thing, but I think
Yeah,
a lot of coaches need to take a moment and step back and say, wow, I spend more time with my athletes than their own families, given the length of time that they practice and have games
yeah,
and travel and all the things and
yeah.
team building. Knowing that you are pouring into these lives is probably one of the most important titles you could ever have in terms of mentorship. You are a mentor every day. You're not just a coach.
No, when we look at the people, I think a lot of coaches become coaches because they saw someone pour into their life really that well. Like innately, we know that the power of that. Because for me, I look at my father passing away at the age of 12. And then I had to take on different mentors and people that became really important to me at different times. And all those people pouring into me, that is part of my purpose, my mission to say that could not be in vain. I've got to now go and do the same unto others. Yeah. And let me pour into someone else. And I understand the impact of that on your life, on perspective, on who they become. And then you're able to sharpen it and become even better as you learn the art and the science of it. That it's not just this emotional experience, but it has to come with educating yourself, with exploration, and put that all together to really find the art and the science of it.
Yes, yes. And as we have those mentors, don't forget to love yourself as well. Let them pour into you, but you also have to fill up your tank. It's not anyone else's responsibility, it's ours. And that's an important lesson, I think, as well. Definitely for me. I can't expect anyone else to have confidence in me. That has to come from me. I have to love me first. And I think a lot of athletes struggle with that too. Rugby is such a beautiful team, culturally based sport, but we still have our individual fears and doubts, and we get injured and we feel like we can't perform at our best for our team, and it's just one of those things to where we have to continue to choose ourselves and our positivity. And even if we're not in the game, how can I bless my teammates? How can I show up for my coaches differently if I'm not playing, if I can't put my boots on for whatever reason, if even if I'm not selected to start or to come in
Yeah.
as a reserve, how do I
Yeah.
still show up in the most
Yeah.
powerful way?
I think even as coaches, I think one of the things that coaches probably also is how do coaches pour into themselves?
Yes.
What does that look like? Do we still have the same dreams, ambition, and sort of like love for also ourselves? Like I'm on this journey this year. I've never been a long distance athlete. I'm probably 10 years post retirement, but I'm going to run a 21K this year in June. Like I've lost already 10 kgs this year so far. And I've told myself I'm trying to run a 21K in June. And it's so daunting, but it's actually so refreshing because I'm learning a new part of who I am. I'm pouring into myself. I'm understanding that there's actually so much value in that. And that's part of like also finding new parts of you and loving yourself and finding value in who and how special you are as well as a person.
That is awesome. I can't wait to see how you do in that race. And that is, man, you've got to be dipping into parts of yourself that you didn't even know existed. Because I don't like running long distance either. Unless I was playing basketball, I did not want to run for very long. It's just not my gimmick. So how do you dig deep in those long runs when you have to keep going?
I think you just take it step by step. I think that's probably just put one foot in front of the other and just put one day ahead of the other day. It's not looking too far ahead what that might look like. It's just really what can I do today to contribute to that. It's the process, the journey of becoming who we are. Like there's a value in that. Like don't look too far about what the distance is. It's let's just take a step today. That will get us to
Mm,
tomorrow. Just take another step today. That's all.
perfect. Do you do any public speaking, any keynote speaking, any motivational speaking?
I have done a couple of keynotes before.
Do
Things
more.
that I
Do more. You are too valuable. You need to be a motivational
appreciate that.
speaker
Thank
when you
you.
have
I
time.
appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sorry, you said you were saying you did a couple.
Yeah, no, but the big one, I enjoy the Q&As. I look forward to Q&As. I think Q&As are much more I love the spontaneousness of like Q&As, like where the journey could go to. I love getting lost in what that looks like. Whereas a keynote or like that sort of stuff, it feels like you're leading people to where you want to take them to. Whereas I enjoy the Q&A where let's find out what's there and let's go there to where the people are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Meet people
fair.
where
Yeah.
they're at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. And I appreciate it too, as someone asking you the questions. I appreciate your openness and your willingness to share and also open up other pathways that we can go. Because active
Yeah.
listening is also very, very important. I could ask the best question in the world, but if I'm not actively listening, I'm going to miss
Yeah.
something important. And that's something that I teach young people that want to be in broadcast. You have to be a good listener too. And clearly you are also that. What in this moment right now, as you look back at your entire life with rugby, with family, with just you, what are you most proud of?
I'm proud of that. I never became bitter, that I'm not bitter today of some of the things that happened. I'm also proud of who I've become, what language I've spoken, the things that I've overcome. Like I speak German, I speak French, I speak seven South African languages. Like I'm proud of who I've become, like in spite of it all, like just so grateful. Like I get teary now just thinking about the things like I'm proud of that. Like and so grateful like to have overcome that and see the other side and say, I've seen a mountaintop or I've gone through the wilderness, I've gone through the desert. Like I value that so much that I can be proud. Like it's surreal moment in my life to be who I am, to also like the things we have can come and go, but to have a family, to be a man, to be a father, to be a coach, to be a son, to be an uncle to all of those people, like and have like key attributes you can pour to them and like and say, guys, like there's so much more for us. Like I love that I can become who I wanted to become. Like that's valuable to me. Like I find value in having valuable experiences and overcoming things. Yeah.
Mm. And I am proud and honored that I can say that I know you because, and I pray that our paths cross one day because you are
Yeah.
so special and so spectacular. Tell us about your family. Tell us about your beautiful family.
So married, 7 years. I've got two kids. I've got a three and three quarters, almost four. She thinks she's about 13. She's the third. She thinks she's 13. So I'm going through like a teenager rebellious moment. And I've got a son now, 17 months old. Incredible boy, like with this vigor for life and so stubborn and so so much will and ambition. It's like this raw stallion that hasn't like it's like an how do you say, you haven't broken the horse? How do you
Yes,
call that in that?
untamed, untamed, right?
Untamed, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got like this untamed spirit, and it's beautiful. And I just see it. I'm like, boy, like there's so many things that are still going to break your heart and going to break this thing that you will come and really become just a thoroughbred, really racehorse of mentality and person. But I love the wildness of who they both are. And so, yeah, those that's my immediate household at the moment. And yeah, that's what we have. Yeah.
I love it. That is so beautiful. And I can see those
And I'm in the
kids in,
trenches.
yeah.
It's in the trenches. It's like I'm in the trenches. Like if you had to look at my home is like a mess at the current moment. I've had to put into bed tonight. But even in that, like my daughter's second name, her name is Tsepiso, which means the promises, meaning that the promises of God are not just for yourself or for your kids and your generations to generation. So like she swims now, and it's something I've never ever been able to do in my life until I was like maybe 16. She's 3.5 and she can swim lengths on the pool at end. And I look at that, I'm like, that is so amazing. Like that you can receive what I never received, but I know that the promises of God over my life are not for me, they're for their benefit as well. Like who they become, what they have access to, what the life that they're going to be able to have. I mean, she can almost speak German fluent. I mean, my boy is 17 months. Um, and even him, like his name is Isaac. Basically, he's basically the one that they went with him to the altar to basically say, listen, like, this is what I'm going to give up. And just the beauty of who he's going to become, to say there are things we have to give off in our lives. We have to lay down to become where we have to become. And I think that's such also a key lesson to any person in life. Like, there's things we have to give up in life to become who we want to become.
Mm, mm.
They seem tough, but the tough choices make us who we become. Whether it's alcohol, whether it's drinking, whether it's boyfriend, it's girlfriends, whether it's inferiority mindset, whether it's superiority mindset, whether that might be, there's things we have to leave to go where we need to go in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Crucial fundamentally to anything. Like nothing is without a sacrifice in life.
Absolutely. And if you tell me right now to give up X, Y, and Z to have God's promises, have it. Take it. Take the X, Y, and the Z. I want God's
Yeah,
promises. That is so
yeah,
cool. That is so cool. Your kids are going to make this world, they already are. They're going to make this world a better place. A
I
better
hope so.
place.
That is my
Absolutely.
hope. That's my hope and my faith for them, like that they may do that and become even better than anything else we've imagined. Yeah.
Mm. And that's what all parents say, right? They want their kids to have a better life than they did. And you say that about your athletes. You want them to have even greater opportunities and greater games and that's what it's about. It's about wanting people uh, when we go through the hard stuff, we want to protect other people from the hard stuff. You know, we want it to be an easier road for people that we care about. And I think that that's also a unique trait that not a lot of people have. And I just, again, I thank you. I needed this conversation and I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful to know that you are out there doing what you're doing for work and in the rugby space and just continuing to prove what a beautiful culture rugby is, and you're at the top of that pyramid doing the most beautiful things. I appreciate you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Stace.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much, Edgar. What a joy it is to get to know you. How can our listeners, because I told them when we first started this conversation, I said, listen, you're going to respect this man in such a high level at the end of this conversation. And I know people are like, I need to know more. I need to know more.
Yeah.
How can we follow you? How can we support you? What are some things that we can do to stay connected to the beautiful things that you're doing?
So the big aspect I've been growing in is probably the LinkedIn space. You can just save it as Edgar Marutlulle. I'm on LinkedIn, and probably email if anyone's got any suggestions. Or I'd love to partner with people on the journey and who they are. We're all going on the same path in life in terms of custodians, partners to all of our purpose and mission. My email is Edgar Maru with the Maru at gmail.com. So feel free, but LinkedIn, more than welcome to hit, and let's connect. Let's make the world a better place. Let's make people better. Let's go to this world. Let's achieve our missions, our visions, and our purposes for this life. We're not in this life in vain. We're not in this life just by free willy. We're all going somewhere. Like, let's partner in that, becoming the full manifestation of who we're meant to become.
Mm, amen. And as my mama would always say, make the world better one person at a time. And
Amen.
that's part of it. Yes, sir.
Amen.
Well, here at URF, as you know, we always say fans first.
Rugby forever.